Brent Leo Smith, that might be the case, that they were on the road and that we didn't have to track very much, but your Hukumuri sighting yesterday was only thanks to us actually tracking him yesterday morning, so we'll just claim that one anyway. Now, it is a very good morning because, as you can see, we have the Nkuhuma Pride all over the road, which is very, very cool. And as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera I've got Sebastian this morning, which is very, very good, and Sebastian is full of the joys of life with a good morning. Now, we are live from South Africa. It is at least a break from the searing heat, and we have some clouds, and so hopefully it's going to be a good morning. It's already started in the best possible way. Lots and lots of kind of possibilities that are going on because the vultures are all flying towards the elephant carcass, and the Nkuhuma Pride have all popped their heads up to listen to something. So I don't know what happened, but all of them popped their heads up, and they are absolutely massive. I don't know where they've come from, but whatever they killed, it is big. They have eaten a lot. They are still covered in blood, a lot of them. They have got monstrous tummies as well. So I wonder if maybe our buffalo bull that gave us the stare down yesterday maybe got devoured, because it looks like they've come exactly from where I bumped into that buffalo bull on foot yesterday. And these guys, like I say, are as full can be. So they are monstrously full, but it is good. They needed it. And so it's always good when you see a fat happy Nkuhuma Pride, and it seems all 11 members are here at the moment. So we've got the 5 females and then the 6 sub-adults. And it's interesting because actually yesterday morning the Birminghams were back in this area, so we didn't have them on Djuma, but I believe that 2 of them were seen on Hoffman's just south of Gowrie Main with the Styx Pride, so they are around. Now look, you can see they're listening at the moment. It's because hyena is calling. So the hyenas are calling down near the elephant carcass, and a number of vultures that are flying that way, and it's made the whole pride sit up and listen to what's going on. Ultimately, with lions, when they hear hyenas, they know that sometimes something can be afoot, and maybe they need to go and investigate. Also, because they've been on a kill, they might be a little bit more kind of nervous of what's going on. But now that I see some of them standing up, I don't think it was that buffalo that met its end, unless it was a small buffalo. It must have been something maybe like a large kudu or a wildebeest or zebra. That's what I would guess would have been what they got. Anyway, this lioness is up and she's sniffing about, and the rest of the pride's heads are up. And let's see, maybe they're going to go for a drink. We're right at Chellapan, and so I'm hoping that we're going to get a lineup of all of our lions drinking. But while we wait for them to do that, let's send you across to Taylor McCurdy, who is probably very happy about the clouds on her morning walk today. Just yet, they're still in various stages of uncomfort, is probably what I would say, is because of these big tummies. And they are probably in a situation where they don't really want to walk. But one lioness has walked off, and so some of the others are just having a little groom and just trying to kind of get themselves nice and clean. And they do this after a carcass or eating because they get covered in blood, and so it's good just to keep themselves clean and to make sure that they keep their coat in good condition. But amazing how big the sub-adults are getting. And talking about sort of sub-adults and the sort of makeup of the pride, Conrad, the young cub, unfortunately, we think is no longer with us anymore. We think, unfortunately, it has been either, well, in all likelihood, killed. And so either by hyena or the Vaka males. It disappeared around the time the Vaka males came in. And so we're not 100% sure who is responsible, but they were, well, the little cub has not been seen in almost 3 weeks. And so in a pride like this, if it hasn't been seen in 3 weeks, then you're probably a situation where it's no longer with us anymore, which is very, very sad. But it is bound to happen with these new males about and with lots of hyenas around and one little cub. And don't forget, it was this lioness's first litter, and it's often the case when these guys have their first litter that they're not as successful. You know, they learn a lot from when they lose their first litter, and so, you know, she'll bounce back and probably be ready to go into estrus already in the next probably 3 weeks or so. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with her, because she's going to cause a bit of an issue with the pride, because the rest of the pride will not want to go towards their Vaka males, but you never know. Maybe she does, but given that she would want to probably mate with all the males around here, and there she goes. She's actually just stood up now and is walking off, and you can see that her teats area is no longer producing milk. So it's this female on the far right that hopefully will come into shot fairly shortly. Oh, I love it when they do that, when they walk and when they just flop down. No, it's fine, don't stress. So Seb's saying, sorry, it was on the wrong one, but that's the lioness we're talking about. You can see she's no longer producing milk at all, and the hair is starting to grow back, and so that little cub was still at the stage where it would have been suckling, which means that it is in all likelihood not here anymore. So she's no longer kind of having that milk production, and they stop that pretty quickly after they lose a cub. So Karen, in terms of the sub-adults, it's easy to tell how old they are because we know exactly when they were born. As for the females, well, it's plus minus in terms of how old they are, and you know, we don't know exactly because we haven't documented the Nkuhuma Pride that well for the past sort of 10 years, and so some of these lionesses we think were born around 2012, 2010, some of them and that was a period when we weren't actually driving at Djuma, and so it's difficult to know exactly how old some of the adults are, but we guess and we surmise at certain ages, given cubs that were born, and you know, there's a lot of people that have really helped us with spot patterns and that, and to try and work out how old everybody is. But the sub-adults is really easy because we know their dates of birth, and we know when they were actually produced, so that makes life a lot easier. But you can see everybody is slowly but surely getting up and meandering off into the grass. I wonder if because they know the sun's getting up and that it's time to now actually go and find a shady thicket to go and lie down in before the sun does break through the clouds and really warm them up. And there goes our little boy. Look, he's starting to get his mane and his fluff around his chest and his head. So a little mohawk that's going to start developing, and he's about as full as possibly could be, and I'm not surprised. He was full the other day, and it seems as though he really gets stuck in when it's carcass time, but getting big and looking strong. And it's amazing what a meal can do for a pride of lions. They go from looking like they're really struggling a little bit to this, where they're looking absolutely fantastic and full and healthy and back to their normal selves. It's incredible what one meal does to a pride of lions. It always amazes me how they can turn from, you know, being quite skinny and looking a little bit dire to looking absolute beast mode by eating a carcass. So very, very cool. And I didn't think we would actually get them moving too much this morning, but nice to see that they are starting to get up and kind of move. And I wonder where they're going to go. Maybe they're going to go down into the drainage line. So Magical, the cubs are pretty much only safe during a coalition takeover when they're able to hunt for themselves, which generally you'll find is over 2 years old. The thing is, though, is that females, unfortunately, if they're not ready to come into estrus yet, are often deemed as cubs from the previous litter and will then try and kind of be attacked. But it's obviously a difficult thing to kind of work out, because some little ones get away with, and it depends on the males, some little ones get away with a lot and others get away with nothing, and then the males kill them. So it depends on the coalition, depends on a number of different factors, but generally if they can make 2 years old, they can normally kind of hunt for themselves a little bit and be able to sort themselves out. I think the rest are going to get up and go. I'm trying to watch to see if they've gone to drink, but none of them are drinking. I think they've all dropped down into the riverbed and maybe towards the Mulawati drainage. It's two of the older females that are left at the moment, so we'll see if they're going to...
They're actually lying down.
Oh, they're lying down. So maybe oh, there we go. They are lying down. So they've just moved off towards a thicket, that's all, and they've decided to plop themselves down on the edge of the pan instead. I'm sure we'll get them to drink at some... Well, not get them to drink, but I'm sure that we will get them drinking at some point. And this morning, when they're full like this, they often do require water, and so we might see them kind of going down for a bit of water a little bit later. We're just going to be quite patient, but nice to see them anyway. Either way, it's a great start for our day. It is a cat day after all, and so we might as well start with the whole of the Nkuhuma Pride. Hello, girl. So Amber Eyes, that is looking and having a bit of a stare down the road. And funny enough, we're not very far at all from where Hosana and Hukumuri were having their little standoff yesterday. So we are pretty much, I would say, about 300 meters from that area. So hopefully Hosana got out of here. Now I see a whole bunch of impalas running in the background, and there were reports of wild dogs somewhere on Torchwood. So I wonder if maybe, just maybe, the dogs are going to arrive. Can you imagine the chaos that will ensue if dogs run past here? Lions and dogs are not at all friends. Anyway, we're going to sit with our pride a little longer. Obviously, we'll try and see what they get up to. I don't think they're going to get up to too much, given how full they are. But while we do that, let's send you across to Taylor, who's got something in the sand. Well, rising maybe not. They have risen and fallen already, so all of them have kind of found themselves a little place to nap, bar this oldest female is just grooming one of the little sub-adults, so she's just making sure that that little one is taken care of and that there's no little ticks on it or anything like that. Yet the rest of them are a carpet at this stage. They've all found themselves a nice place to sleep. Bar one that's gone to actually drink, which is now, she's put me in the worst possible place because she's drinking the wrong way around. I thought that maybe we'd get the rest of them, and I'm pretty sure if I try and move, she's not going to stay that long. Let's just see. I was hoping that we'd get the whole pride drinking, because it's always amazing when you get to see lions as a unit all drinking together in a circle. It's amazing. Now, Melissa, you'll probably find that these guys would be ready to hunt already, well, this afternoon, if an opportunity presented itself, but realistically, I'm pretty sure they're just going to sleep most of the day today and into the evening, and that they'll only really start looking for food properly again tomorrow or tomorrow night. So, you know, they digest quite quickly. Lions, you'll be surprised you come here this afternoon, while they'll still be roundish, they won't be nearly as full as what they are this morning, and so we'll have a situation where they'll be ready to kind of start going off and looking for food again by tomorrow morning as things go. Remember that they're very opportunistic, so any chance they get, they'll try and take it as quick as possible. But I wonder where they killed and what they killed, because, like I say, they're still covered in blood, so they must have killed somewhere close by here. Oh, look at that. Isn't that awesome? This is the little lion pile. And no, eldest lioness says, nope, I'm not dealing with that. You can see her hip is still got a little hole in it, but it's gotten so much better. I say little now. I mean, it's still a serious gash. If we saw that for the first time today, we would be kind of astounded that she had this massive gash. But actually, you know, that's very small in comparison to what she had a few months ago. It has healed remarkably well, considering. I'm just going to quickly get into a different position so we can see her drinking. It should be really nice if she just stays where she is. Let's just try and get through here. There's the sort of rising sun and her drinking, which is a very pretty picture, that's for sure. So nice kind of sighting to have, and like I say, that hip of hers at least is looking very healthy as well. There's no sort of infections that we can see developed in there, and how she kept that clean and survived through this is pretty astounding. It just goes to show how insanely tough these lions or wild animals in general actually are. To recover from a wound like that is amazing. But now you can see perfectly from a side angle how they actually drink and how they're using surface tension to pull up water. It was quite nice that you could see the tongue just kind of hitting the surface of the water and just pulling slowly upwards, and that's how they kind of actually get the water that they need. They're not actually cupping water into their mouth or anything like that. The hyenas are starting to call again at that elephant carcass, so they're making noise, and I'm sure pretty much all the lions will pop their head up just to listen. Whenever they hear hyenas, they generally do listen and make a lot of noise. And they have a situation where they'll try and kind of pick up the sounds that are around them just to make sure that they are not going to be ambushed by a big clan of hyenas. So when they call, they listen. Also, like I say, it could be an indication of a food source. But it seems as though these lions are not interested at all in that elephant. The doubt that they came from there, that looks like, from what I can see, that their tracks came from the northeast. So we found their tracks kind of on Twin Dams Road, and then they slowly but surely kind of meandered it, and then we found them pretty quickly after that. So it was, kind of, we bumped into them as we kind of found their tracks, so it looked like they came out of the Milwaukee. Now my earpiece is stuck around. There we go. Otherwise I can't turn and talk to you guys. Now I'm going to have to just put ourselves into a different position, because otherwise we're not going to be able to see anything. So Siddharth, the females in this group, in terms of sisters, not all of them, no. So in the sub-adults, there's 3 different litters. And obviously there are sisters within those litters. There's only 1 boy in the sub-adults. So the rest of them are kind of spread between 3 different females. So some will have sisters, some won't. And then in terms of the adult lionesses, it seems as though, well, the youngest lioness, no, she doesn't have any of her sisters in this pride. Unfortunately, her sister was killed by the Birmingham males during the takeover. And then I'm not sure if any of the others are sisters, but there's 2 that are very similar age. So the lioness that's got the ridges down the sort of face, and the lioness that has the spotty nose. So those 2, or the one with the funny eye, those 2 are very close in age. And then you have a situation where you've got the eldest lioness as well, who's on her own. So not too many actually sisters in this pride, but a lot of kind of cousins, if you want to call it that, and they all kind of come together. Now, interestingly enough, it seems as though the pride has actually drank already at some point, so I'm sure that's why none of them have really come down. So it's a few tracks on the edge of the water. Good. While these guys groom and I reposition and get myself into a little bit of a better spot, let's send you back across to Brent, who's bumbling about. So no, Ted, I think 1 or 2 went for a drink. The rest have decided that is it. They are not going to be doing very much for the rest of the day. As that sun is starting to break, I'm pretty sure it's going to start getting warm, and these guys are going to take the best possible nap that they can and try and digest all of this meat that they've put into their bellies. And so I think we're going to have a situation where our pride is going to be fairly stationary for the course of the morning. I don't think we're going to see very much from them at all. I think they've found themselves the spot for the day. They got up and moved towards the thickets, and now it's just about following the shade around as the shade kind of changes throughout the day. But it's good, like I say, really good to see them in this condition. As much as it's nice when they're active and they're moving, it's good when they actually get a meal and they look as healthy as they do. Once again, they were starting to look a little bit kind of on the skinny side, and Brent was saying a few days ago when he had them that, that they really needed a meal. So good news that the Nkuhuma Pride are well fed. You can see there's a couple little scrapes and cuts and kind of bruises on all of them at the moment. I'm pretty sure it's because they haven't been having much luck with things like buffalo, and so they've probably been killing a lot of smaller stuff, and that means that there will be a lot of fighting over things like impalas and maybe even small kudus and those kind of things. It'll cause a situation where these guys will have a bit of a go at each other on the carcass, and so a lot of those cuts around the face are generally to do with each other more than anything else. The lionesses themselves, they've all got a few cuts on them, but I think those were from the Avoca altercation that they had on the buffalo kill. Now, John Michael, sorry. You want to know what age will a lioness be the strength of a male? So I take it you mean a male lion, and the answer to that is never. Even as cubs, the male lions are bigger already. They start to get bigger and stronger much quicker than what the little lioness cubs would be, and so you'll have a situation where pretty much throughout their life they'll never be as strong as what the male lions are. Unfortunately, the males are just bigger and stronger, and if you basically taking a time frame where they're running at the same time frame. Obviously, if you have an adult female and a young male cub, there's obviously a strength difference, but there's no difference if they are all of the same age, that's for sure. But look at the size of that tummy. That is as distended and as full and as fat as you could possibly ever think of. Oof, these are going to be uncomfortable lions. If that sun does break and we have heat like we had yesterday, this pride is going to suffer today. They're going to be very hot cats by this afternoon. They'll be panting away. But isn't that cool? With the kind of belly out, as big as it is, they definitely are going to have a really good nap at some point. Well, not at some point, right now actually, and enjoy their sort of big tummies. But it's amazing how big their tummies actually get. Hello, girl. Yes, we're talking about you. Is it uncomfortable to have a big tummy? Seems like it. Lila, difficult to say. There will be some semblance of a hierarchy within the females. The thing is, though, is that because most of these females are quite older adults, they generally kind of spend some time on their own, and you'll find that sometimes there's 3 females that will split off with the sub-adults, and then amber eyes and the younger female often spend time together, and so it's difficult to say. But what we see that when the pride moves, generally amber eyes and the lioness with the kind of bit of a blind right eye, I don't know if it's blind, but that milky right eye, those 2 generally are up front and walking, and then following right at the back is normally the oldest lioness. Now, whether or not that indicates a sort of hierarchy within them, difficult to say, but they definitely kind of have more senior females that will kind of dictate where they walk and what they get up to. So, but it's an interesting one. And obviously in males, it's a far more defined structure because they are trying to compete for mating and those kind of things. Whereas females, it's not that important for them to be dominant over the rest of the pride. As long as the pride works together and they find food together, then that's all okay. It's a situation where, you know, they don't have to fight for mating rights or anything like that. Shame. She looks very content, doesn't she, for now? But you can see that breathing rate is quite fast already. If you watch the piece of grass in front of her nose, bouncing up and down, you can work out she's taking quite big, deep breaths, and she's exhaling quite heavily already. And so you can imagine when that sun hits her, how she's going to be breathing. It'll be much, much faster, and you'll find her mouth will open because she'll have to start to try and practice panting to cool that body. Also, the system where she opens her legs like that in order to sleep is also helping with just her comfort. So she's kind of lying like that, so that full tummy is not being squashed into her lungs and into the rest of her sort of abdominal cavity. And also it just allows a little bit of a breeze to blow between the legs and over the tummy, which helps with all the heat that the body is producing, trying to digest that massive amount of protein that she's got in her. You can see lots of little flies buzzing around as well. Lying next to a pan like this in fairly dry conditions will dictate that you get a few flies around. They come and try and get the moisture from the edge of these water points. And if you've got lions that are still a bit covered in blood and those kind of things, flies are going to be a bit of a nightmare for them. And that poor female, can you imagine how irritating the flies have been for this wound period? How long has this wound been here? Actually, I can't even remember that when we first saw it. Was it August we first saw it? I think it was August maybe when we first saw it. So that's a long time ago. I mean, that's 7 months ago, basically, that she's had that. And look at the flies. You can see them all kind of crawling around. It must have driven her mad. Anyway, we'll, I think, probably sit with them for a little bit longer, see if anything happens, and then we'll probably carry on. But while we do that, let's send you across to Brent, who is still bumbling about, and hopefully those dogs will pop out for him at some point. Taylor, I heard you from miles away. It was a very good whistle. Perfect tone, perfect amplitude. It was very good. Well done. No, I'm joking. I didn't hear a single thing. All I heard was the heavy breathing of the Nkuhuma Pride and a hyena whooping. So the hyenas started whooping as Taylor was whistling. And so, unfortunately, I didn't hear anything from Taylor McCurdy from here. Also, Taylor, look out while you're walking in that area. I know that you are tracking Rexon, but you can also look out for tracks of David and myself as well, because we also walked on that road, so that will give you something to look for, and hopefully that will come out and there will be something else that you'll see down at Treehouse Dam. But as for Nkuhuma Pride, they are absolutely fast asleep. I highly doubt these guys are going to be doing anything for the rest of the day, and so I think we're going to take our leave and start probably moving off fairly shortly. Lexa, yes, it has happened, but generally with a big male lion or big female, when they swat at a cub, that they sometimes can cause enough damage to kill it. So there has been 1 or 2 cases where cubs have been killed on a carcass by family members, which is not ideal, but it's very rare that it happens. It's once in a blue moon, if you want to listen to the saying, although blue moons are far more common than that happening. But it can happen when the carcass is going and a little cub gets in there and a male's there. Sometimes his tempers flare and that male just lashes out, and that then causes a bit of an issue. So, yeah. Now, Maureen, yes, it depends on where the lions are from. I find the lions that are from the United Kingdom have skin that's more prone to a bit of a burning, so they have to apply a lot more sun cream than their African. No, I'm joking. There is no, they don't get sunburnt. They have a big, thick fur coat, effectively, so their body is covered in hair that allows them to not have to worry about sun. It's more the reason they seek shade is more because of the heat management than it is because of the sun being directly on them. But no, they don't suffer from sunburn. They are not like us, and us kind of, when I say us, I mean even me in this, who have got light skin that tends to burn, and rather than kind of tan or anything like that. And so they unfortunately do not get sunburnt, or fortunately for them, it's much easier not to get sunburnt, because no one likes sunburn, do they? So, do you like sunburn? No, it's very uncomfortable. I've had enough of it also in my life to know that it's not something you want at all. Right, I think that's it for us and the Nkuhuma Pride this morning. We might pop past a little bit later, but we're going to carry on. We're going to go see what else we can find, and while we do that, let's send you back across to Brent, who is still chasing those wild dogs.